Welcome to our Mothers and Wives Zoom support group. My name is Yisrael Roll, and we have quite a few people on the Zoom chat right now. We're going to join us for this new format. I want to set up a few rules and housekeeping for us as we go forward. The first thing is confidentiality. Anything that happens in Zoom stays in Zoom. So the first rule is what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, which means whatever happens on our Zoom chat, the support group stays in the support group. That means to say, if that you happen to know somebody else on the chat and you see them at the market, please don't ask them, so how's it going with your son and how's it going with this or that? Because that's confidential. If you want to reveal it to someone else saying, hey, I saw you on the chat and I want to tell you this is happening, that's up to you. But we need to keep this chat confidential, and we need to keep it in a matter of emotional safety, that each of us retain the integrity of this program so that we have it a real confidential support group. So the format that I like to propose is that the first 20 minutes of each session, and this is going to be a weekly session. Every Sunday morning at 10 a.m., we're going to have a Wives and Mothers Zoom support group. We can call it the Believe in Yourself support group. That's the approach I take in my counseling, in my motivational speaking, in my books, in my lectures, workshops. It's all about one thing: believing in yourself. If you have a sense of self, a sense of confidence within yourself, you can handle anything. And that's my approach. And that's why I wrote a book called Like Yourself and Stay Married. I'll show it to you over here. It's called Like Yourself and Stay Married: The Unlikely Key to Marriage Success. Like Yourself and Stay Married. And the reason for this is because I believe that a person likes themselves if you have good self-esteem, a good self-concept. Then when you have a negative comment coming from your husband or a stressful day, you'll ground yourself in yourself. I'm good. I can handle this. I'm a good person. I'm talented. I've got strengths. I can deal with this. You settle down. You don't respond in the moment. And then you relax and think how you're going to respond to the husband, to the children, to the mother-in-law, and any other situation that you're dealing with. So that's the approach I take, and that's the tenor of my facilitation of this group. For the first 20 minutes of every Sunday morning, I'd like to open it up to the floor, and I'd like to ask you to unmute yourselves and tell me what's on your mind. Tell the group, what are the main issues you'd like to deal with? Then the next 20 minutes, I will give you a technique or an approach based on my book, Like Yourself and Stay Married, techniques which I've used with many, many clients and many, many families that have worked, hands-on strategies and techniques. And then the last 20 minutes of the hour, I'll open it up back to you to say how you think this will affect you and what are the concerns about the approach, and whether or not you have any other concerns about how you're going to apply the things we talked about to daily life. So I want this to be not only a emotional support group, which is number one, the first 20 minutes, also a hands-on technique that I'll give for the second 20 minutes. And then thirdly, how are we going to apply this? So it could be a support group emotionally, but also tachlis, practically, how are we going to make ourselves more effective as a spouse and a mother? So let's open the floor now. And let me open the floor to you, our participants, and ask you, what are the topics? What are you dealing with right now? What's on the table right now that you like to talk about and deal with so that we can address these issues during today's session. Every week, we'll talk about something else, number of topics, but let's open the floor now. And if you can unmute yourself and tell us what's on your agenda right now. What is the pressing matter that you'd like to talk about or deal with? Any ideas? Any thoughts?
Do you hear me?
Yes, Sarah, go ahead.
Hi, this is Sarah. I can go first. One thing that I'm definitely struggling with that I would love to hear some techniques is with my kid, really just how to, before reacting when I'm frustrated about something he's doing, just, calming down to be in a state of mind to react so that I don't react, upset, so he doesn't see me being upset at him or things like that. Just like having something to think before reacting when he's doing something that's really frustrating.
What you're saying is that you want to be able to have an internal calm when dealing with a hurricane of a tantrum.
Yes.
Or difficult kids who are not listening, and that's what kids do for a living, is they don't listen for a living.
Right.
They test us to push our buttons. How to
right.
Go on.
No, just especially, sometimes I react in an upset way, and I know that what they're doing is totally age appropriate. So, it's definitely on me. So just, how to be in a state of calm before reacting to something that kids will do.
Very good point. Very, very good point. And I plan to deal with that in the technique section in the second sector of the 20 minutes, next 20 minutes. Any other thoughts? Anyone want to comment on that, please? Or
I will. Hi, my name's Devorah. So this is kind of parallel, that it's not addressing my kids, but my husband. More of like how do I react to his reactions? I feel like in a sense, I'm bringing out the worst in him, because with my children, I work with Rabbi Roll, and we're kind of getting a grasp on the reaction and or not reacting or how to react. But when it comes to my husband, it's hard for me to apply those same techniques because he's not a child and I don't want to look at him as a child. So I'm wondering on kind of a different parallel plane, like how to have, even if it's maybe addressing the same underlying issues of I don't like the way he reacts sometimes, how do I react to his reaction? Does that make sense?
Yeah, beautiful. So it's parallel in that Sarah was mentioning the idea of not reacting or overreacting to a child's behavior. But let's say a mother has a very instinctive, protective side to her, where she wants to protect her children. And when a father is being too harsh or not reacting the right way to a child, she gets upset, or you get upset at your husband for reacting that way. And how do you do that? First of all, not in front of the children, but at the same time, protect the child from a negative interaction with your husband, which might be hurting the child. So it's like a catch-22. You want to protect the child, but you don't want to embarrass the husband in front of the children, but you don't want to get into a shalom bayis, a family issue with your husband. So it's a very complex issue when a father is disciplining in the wrong way. Does that resonate with you?
Exactly. Yes, exactly right. And I feel like he ends up reacting like, oh, I can't do anything right. And I'm like, but it wasn't right. The reaction. So I just definitely need skills on how to handle that in the moment.
Excellent. Any other points to comment on that, or any other types of issues we can travel? Because I think that my second sector, the next 20 minutes, will be on this very point of how to acquire equanimity, how to acquire inner calm to deal with children who are tantruming, and also to deal with a husband who is off the mark. Any other thoughts from our participants on how you want to handle things today? Any other ideas? Does that resonate with our other participants? Okay, so that's a good place to start. So I would like everyone, and I want to make this practical and hands-on. So if you have a pen and a piece of paper available, or a notepad, I'd like you to take out a pen and a piece of paper, and I'm going to share with you a technique of how to achieve inner space, inner calm, inner peace, equanimity, despite a thunderstorm, hurricane, a messy house, Shabbos coming, in-laws coming, husband not playing ball, kids not listening, right? The turmoil and chaos of everyday life. Basically, what we're just describing here is how to handle the pressures of daily life without losing it. Am I right on that? So that sounds to me like a very good place to start. And the technique that I want to share with you is this. Technique number one, and I want to keep track of our techniques. I'm going to give you hands-on practical techniques. Number one, it's called the wheel of strengths. The wheel of strengths. I'd like you to draw a large circle on the page. And I want you to divide the circle into 6 pieces of the pie, 6 sections. I have a copy of this Wheel of Strengths in my book. And it looks like this, and I'll show it to you. But I'd like you to write the labels on the outside. So don't write the labels of each item inside the pieces of the pie. Write them outside. So the first one is intellect. On the outside of the arc, write intellect or mind. On the second section of the pie, so you draw down the middle, across, and diagonal. The first one is intellect, mind. The second one is social skills. The third one is character or midos. The fourth one is spirituality. The fifth one is contribution to family. And the sixth one is personal growth. So again, the first one, intellect. The second one, social skills. The third one, character or midos. The fourth one, spirituality. The fifth one, contribution to family. The sixth one, personal growth. This is your wheel of strengths. And how I suggest we work and dealing with these issues is, what are your strengths? What are your abilities? What are your talents? I want to work from a strengths model. What are the good things about you? And that's why I call all of my work Believe in Yourself. And you see that be you, believe in yourself, be you, is by being you, by being yourself, you are already good. You are already talented and able and capable of handling a tantruming child and a difficult interaction with your husband. You can do this, except you don't know it yet. You don't know it yet. Or you've forgotten it. Or life's gotten in the way. But you can be you. You can believe in yourself by being you, by becoming aware and conscious, awake, called Stay Woke. And my other book is called Stay Woke. Stay woke and ignite your soul. Your life matters. Stay woke and ignite your soul. Your life matters. And in there I give examples of how a person can stay conscious. Stay woke, stay conscious, stay aware of your strengths, and then apply them. So under each section right now, I'd like you to write down 2 strengths you personally have under each section. What are your intellectual strengths? Everyone go ahead and write down 2 talents, 2 abilities, 2 positive strengths you have under the section called intellect. Are you street smart? It doesn't matter if you're an academic and you got A's in college. But unless you're street smart and have common sense, that deals with daily life and daily applications of your abilities to daily situations. If you're street smart, if you have common sense, that's a huge ability. So do you have common sense? Are you street smart? Are you a problem solver? Write that down if you are. Can you get the job done? Despite all this frenzy and all the tests and all the challenges, have you survived till now? Yeah, I'm a survivor. I've used my mind to survive. I've figured it out. Write down those strengths. Are you organized? Forget about that one. But many of you are organized. Write that down as a talent under intellect. Now let's move on now to social skills. What are your social skills? Think about your closest friendship. What do you bring to the table as far as your closest friend? How do you treat that friend? Are you loyal? Are you committed? Are you trustworthy? Are you reliable? Are you attentive? Are you an encourager? Are you someone to talk to? A confidant? Are you supportive? Write down your social skills. The third area and the most important area is character. I'm going to name 9 main character traits. And I want you to write down which 2 or 3 speak to you most. These 9 character traits come from the 13 midos harachamim, the 13 attributes of God's mercy that he told us who he was. After the Jewish people sinned with the golden calf, God said to them, all they have to do is to get forgiveness for the golden calf is to act like me. Here's the formula. Act like God's attributes, incorporate them, integrate them, live them, and thereby act like God's attributes, and you will be forgiven. What are these attributes? Number 1, consistency. The most important attribute in life is to be a consistent wife, a consistent spouse, a consistent parent. Consistent, not giving up, persevering. So write that down on the side of the page as one of the 9 attributes, and we'll decide later whether it applies to you. Consistency. Number 2, leadership. Outgoing, dynamic, strength of conviction, strong will. That's the second attribute of God, and some of us have that attribute within ourselves. Write that down on the side of the page. Number 3, compassion. Compassion means caring for somebody's physical needs. It's caring for somebody who has a need, you see the need, and you provide that for that person's physical needs. Compassion. Number 4, empathy. Empathy means caring for someone's emotional needs. Are you empathic? Empathy. Nurturing. Sensitive. Does your heart reach out to the feelings of others? Do you share their pain? That's empathy. Number 5, patience. Laid back, mellow, chilled, relaxed. And when you combine those two words of chilled and relaxed, you get chillaxed. Now, I met one person like that who was relaxed and mellow and laid back. I think it was back in 1994. I think it was a Tuesday. I remember it well because it's the only person who I ever met who was chilled and relaxed. Hey, man, what's going on, bro? Yo. Most other people are pretty intense, right? Pretty hardwired, pretty sprung up, you know? Although you might be patient and chilled and relaxed, but that's a very hard one. God is relaxed. He's chilled. So maybe some of us have that midah, that attribute of patience. Next one, loving kindness, giving, always thinking how I can help. Helping people coming home from hospital, helping with the community, visiting people in the hospital, always doing for your neighbor, doing things for your children, your husband. That's giving. Number 7, honesty, integrity. Doing the right thing. Being careful not to speak about other people, not speaking lashon hara. Trying to follow the straight and narrow. Try to do the right thing. Returning your library books on time. Oh yeah, I just forgot one. I have to return one. Doing the right thing. Writing thank you notes for people who give you a gift. That's MS, honesty, integrity. 8, creativity. Are you creative with ideas? Are you artistic? Are you musical? Do you have ideas for the family? Outings. Are you creative with your cooking? Do you put tangerines in a salad? My sister-in-law puts tangerines in a salad. That's a great idea. And she actually puts fruit on the dinner table plate. So we have roast beef and we have pineapple on the plate. It's like crazy, but it's very creative, colorful, and it makes it very different. So you're having dessert together with the meal, it makes it interesting. And almonds, sugar-covered almonds in the salad, cashews, sprouts, and all that stuff. Are you creative? With ideas, art projects for the family, music ideas for the family, having music in your home, creating an atmosphere in your home. Now you're creative. Number 9, forgiving. Very hard one, very hard. Forgiving. Do you let go? Do you let go of resentments? Very hard to do, but if you imagine an anger, an event that happened that your husband said to you 6 years ago, or 16 years ago, or 26 years ago, and you're still holding on to it, who are you hurting? You're probably hurting yourself more than him because it's eating you up. He probably said it in a moment of anger, a moment of mistake. He lost it. He was young. He made a mistake. If you learn to let it go and liberate yourself, what your mother-in-law said to you, what your child said to you. Remember, I was disciplining my son. He was 5 years old at the time because he was, very, very rambunctious child. Went to shul Friday night. And the rabbi went over to him and said, "Oh, hi, how are you? You're so sweet. You're so wonderful. Oh, nice to see you. Thanks for coming." So we walked away from that encounter, walking home. And my son looked up at me and said, "Can he be my father?" Oh my gosh. Like, that was a dagger right through me. And I haven't forgotten that. And that's 20 years ago. Like, oh my gosh. He's getting married, God willing, in 2 months. But I'm like, could he be my father? What? I'm not your father? Yeah, because he doesn't discipline you. He doesn't keep you, he doesn't teach you stuff. This rabbi goes, "Oh, hi, how are you, sweetheart?" Well, that's much easier to be that kind of father, right? So we can be a little bit less guilty about disciplining our children because we have to keep the ship running. But we're going to talk about how to keep the ship running in a calmer way in our support group. But it hurts. Have I learned to let it go? Well, I remember it and I let it go because he was a kid and he realizes that, or I realized that doing this to little boys saying, "Oh, you're a sweetheart," and me telling him, "Please stop hitting your brother," well, who will you gravitate toward? The rabbi who goes like this, as opposed to me who says, "Stop hitting your brother." So he'd like him as a father more than me. Do I forgive him? I let it go. I think. I hope I do. I'll think about it. I'll let you know. Then the last one is, one of the most important ones is resilience. Being able to bounce back. A setback, I lost it. I raised my voice at my husband or my wife or my child. I made a mistake. I'm upset with myself. Okay, ground myself, be resilient and bounce back. Are you able to be resilient and to bounce back from a difficulty or a challenge? Now, I want you to review these 10, ended up being 10 instead of 9, 10 attributes, 10 main attributes. Under the section of the pie called character or midos, I want you to write in 2 or 3 or 4 of this list which speak to you. And put them under this category called character. I'll give you a minute to reflect on this list of 10 items. And I'd like you to write down which ones speak to you as your main attributes. Of course, all of these are necessary. All of these are part of the package of how we can emulate God, act like God, connect with Hashem. But each of us have a special constellation or combination of these abilities and these character traits. And we have to know ourselves. To thine own self be true. You have to know ourselves, to know what your strengths are. In order to ground yourself in an interaction with your family, first you have to go to, what am I? Who am I? What are my strengths? Realize them, be aware of them, be conscious of them. Oh yeah, I got that one. I'm creative. 1 second, let me how to handle this. 1 second. Oh, I know. I'll distract him, or I'll draw a picture, or we'll go outside. But if you're creative, draw upon that creativity to deal with the situation at hand. But unless you're conscious of it and aware of it, you can't draw upon it when you're under pressure in the moment. So I want you to be aware of it now and work on it. I'm going to give you a technique of how to work on it during the week so that you can draw upon these strengths when the chips are down, when your back is against the wall. So are we ready to move on? Do we have everyone have written down 2 or 3 or 4 of those attributes in the section called character or personality? Ready to move on? Okay, good. Now let's move on to the next category. The 4th category is spirituality. Under spirituality, I want you to write down what inspires you. What uplifts you? Is it music? Is it nature? Is it sunsets? Is it exercise? Is it reading an inspiring Jewish story? Is it sitting on the couch Friday night after the meal, chilling with your family? What is your inspiration? Is it gardening? Is it schmoozing with your best friend? What is your inspiring activity? And I venture a guess you haven't done that thing in a while. Too busy with diapers and kids and bottles and children and rushing home and rushing to work and dealing with mothers-in-law and Shabbos preparations to do those things that inspire you. But we got to get back to basics here and get back to what inspires you so you can be a whole, fulfilled person. We've forgotten about ourselves. Spirituality. The next one is contribution to family. What do you do for your family? What is the main thing you bring to the table? Are you the motivator? Are you the encourager? Are you the mediator? Are you the calmer downer? Are you the ideas person? Are you the one who moves things along? What are the main strengths that you have that you bring to the table that you contribute to your family? What are you good at? What do you see your role as? What's your voice in the family where you make a contribution? I am the spark plug. I am the inspirer. I'm the one who keeps the peace. What are your strengths as a wife and mother in your family? And lastly, and the sixth category is personal growth. Write down, what are you working on? We heard from our participants, I'm working on trying to be calm in dealing with my children when there's a hurricane or tantrum. I'm trying to be calm when my husband is doing something I don't like, how not to react in the moment and try to deal with that. What else are you working on? Are you working on your positivity? Working on your temper? Not raising your voice? Trying to be calmer? Are you working on being less depressed, more positive, more energy, eating better, sleeping better? What are you working on? What's your personal growth? How are you growing as a person? What are you working on? Now let's take a look at this wheel of strengths. You have intellectual skills. You have social skills. You have character strengths. You have spirituality. You have family strengths, and you're growing as a person. Now let's enter the last 20-minute phase of our support group. And let's open the unmute button. And let's talk about going back to the first participant, who Sarah said that when you get overwhelmed by a child and you don't want to lose it, let's look at your wheel of strengths. Let's use it now. What is it on that wheel of strengths can you bring to the table? Look at that wheel of strengths to handle a tantruming child. Take a look at that wheel of strengths. And it doesn't have to be Sarah only, but it could be our other participants. Take a look at that wheel of strengths, your own personal wheel of strengths. What can you immediately see on your wheel of strengths that you can use? Say, hey, I've got this. I forgot I used this. I forgot I have this ability. Let me see if I can use this in dealing with a child. Any ideas of what you can do based on your wheel of strengths to deal with a tantruming child? A child who's not listening. Any thoughts or ideas? Take a look at the wheel of strengths.
I'll share.
Go ahead, please.
Okay, so when it comes to dealing with my husband and my reaction to him, looking at my wheel of strength, by being calmer, creative, like in my thoughts, trying to, I guess, damachafskus, or I don't know exactly how I would apply it, being patient, because I deal with 3-year-olds 6 hours a day and I never lose my patience, but like put me on a line at 7 Mile and 3 people in front of me and I go crazy. So I got to like focus on my meter of patience that I do have, but don't always recall it. Um, and then also one of my motivators are reading biographies about strong Jewish women, how they handle life in crisis, and they reach for Hashem and think of Hashem and dive into Hashem. And when I read books about that, it reminds me to do that. And I always kind of, I'm like inspired for like, a week or two. And then I kind of lose that inspiration and I, revert to losing my patience. So looking at this wheel and these attributes, I guess it would be forgiving, being patient, and calmer.
Beautiful. So when you are conscious, when you have this wheel of strengths in front of you, and you have a copy of it on your fridge, and one copy in your car, and one copy by your computer, and one copy by your mirror, and during this week, you make 4 copies of it, and you put it around your house, and it's present and reminds you, hey, I have patience. I have patience for my children in my play group, but I don't have so much patience for the people in line at the market, or patience with my husband. One second. Why is that? So first of all, the first technique is make 4 copies of this wheel of strengths. Put it around the house, around your home, at your business, at your computer, just to get in touch with who you are. To believe in yourself, you have to be you. Who are you? You are that wheel of strengths. That is a very good picture. Right now, your intellectual, social, character, spiritual, family contribution, growth, self, that's a pretty good picture of who you are, what your strengths are. But we lose touch with those things because under pressure, we lose connection with ourselves. We lose connection with God. And that means I lose connection with the godliness within myself. Well, this wheel of strengths is the godliness within yourself. It's God's midos, attributes, strengths he gave you to use to interact with your husband and your children and your community and your family and, yes, your mother-in-law. You have the ability to do it, just that we forget. So here's a question I have for you, Devorah. You have this strength of being able to use patience with the children in your play group. What happens with the line in the marketplace? At 7 Mile Market, and the person is taking their sweet time and talking to the cashier and schmoozing on her phone and fumbling with her credit card, not having it ready to go out, and you have to get somewhere. And she takes 15 minutes to get on the line, and she thought that you were going to breeze through that line with her in front of you. Why does your patience not manifest, whereas it does manifest when you're in your play group? Why does that happen?
Because I have no control over the situation. I can't. My time is valuable, and I need to go through. And I always feel like I pick the slowest cashierist, and it takes like triple the time as anybody else that I see in front of me. And I don't know. I guess it's just also a bit of selfishness, like the world revolves around me attitude. Like I need to be somewhere, I need to get out, and I don't know how to. I don't know why I get like anxious about it.
Good. Excellent. So you've mentioned a magic word. It's called I have no control. So let's draw a new page. Another technique, a second technique I want to share with you today. Open up a new page, draw a large circle, and on the top of the page, write down circle of control. This is technique number 2. Keep track of our techniques. Number 2 is circle of control. On the outside of the circle, let's write down things you cannot control. Number 1, the person in front of you on line at 7 Mile Market and how fast they're going to move. Can't control her or him. Can't control the cashier. What else can you not control? What's outside your circle of control? What are the things that you cannot control? The weather. I cannot control the weather. Okay, what else can you not control?
You can't control the way your husband or kids act, or anyone.
Excellent. You cannot control your husband or your children's actions. Exactly. I cannot control the outcome of the election. What else can you not control? Mother-in-law. Cannot control the words of your mother-in-law. Cannot control your mother. Cannot control how much money your family is going to make this month. Emphasize the word control. Very important word. I cannot control those things. Let me ask you a question, and I'm looking for an answer now, not rhetorical. What are the things we usually get anxious about on this list? What do we worry about? What do we think about?
Probably all of them.
All of them. Please note, we worry about everything outside our control. We worry about the weather, what my husband's going to say, what time he's going to come home for dinner, am I going to burn the dinner? Are the kids going to be behaving tonight? Am I going to get some sleep tonight? What's going to happen with the election? What's my mother-in-law going to say when she comes for Shabbos? Everything that's outside our control, we worry about. Let's note a second thing. Everything outside that circle is in what time period? Is it the past, the present, or the future? Are we worried about things outside our control in the past? There are things that events that are in the past. Are they in the present or are they in the future?
Future.
Future. So let's not talk about this. Everything that's outside that circle of control is in the future. And it's all the things that you cannot control. It's somebody else. If I stood outside and said, I want it to be 80 degrees outside today, and I'm not going to go leave my rain dance or my sun dance outside my house until it starts to become sunny, is it going to help me? Obviously, it's not going to help me. I cannot control the weather. If I get upset up and down that my husband should behave himself or say something nice to me, or wife, in my case, not going to help me. Because number one, it's not on my control. Number two, it's in the future. The only thing you can control is what's happening when. Now. Not someone else's actions and not the future. So therefore, let's put down inside the circle of control, what you can control. What can you control? Notice the word control. Can't control mother, mother-in-law, kids, weather, election, neighbor. Someone's parking to block your driveway. Can't control anybody. What can you control? What do you think?
My reaction.
Right. In the middle, write down, I can control my own reactions. That's the only thing you can control. My reactions. So when you stop for a moment and you superimpose upon this circle of control, which says, I can control my own reactions, and you put the wheel of strengths. Now flip back to the wheel of strengths. The wheel of strengths goes right in that circle of control. You can control your reactions because you have certain strengths on the wheel of strengths, which you can bring to bear to deal with your situation. So they're the same thing. The center of the circle of control, which says I can control my reactions, is superimposed with the wheel of strengths. Now tell me, look at the wheel of strengths. What can you use on the wheel of strengths to deal with all those things, what your father says, what your mother says, what your husband says, what your children do? What strength can you bring to bear that you can control to deal with that situation? Any thoughts or ideas?
I tend to have compassion, empathy a lot of times for people for outside people as opposed to my husband. So, focusing on using compassion, empathy for my husband or my kids when they're, being really frustrating, is something that I definitely could work on.
And that's really being true to yourself. If you are a compassionate, giving, caring person, and the only time and most of the time we lose it is when we're dealing with our family, our husband and our children, ask ourselves why. I can do it well when I am dealing with the cashier at the checkout and the postman and the post lady, and be friendly with them, and mishulachim, and be friendly and warm and patient with them, and people in the gun and in the playgroup and people at work. But when it comes to my mother, my mother-in-law, my husband, my wife, my children, I lose it. I forget who I am. Why is that? Any ideas? Why is it that in the moment I can be friendly to everybody and I can use my compassion because I am compassionate? You just mentioned that, Sarah. I'm compassionate. I'm giving. Devorah said, I'm patient. But when it comes to people in my immediate circle, I lose it. Why?
Probably some of it has to do with, needing to present yourself in a different way to the outside world. But when you're home, you think you can act however you want, but you can't.
You can't. That means be true to your true self. Look at the wheel of strengths. What are your character strengths? What's there on the section called character? What are your character strengths? Compassionate, empathic, creative, giving. Are they there? The reason why we don't use them in our immediate circle with our husband, wife, and children, mother-in-law, is because we don't believe we are good enough. And when we don't get compliments or good feedback, or we get hurt by a husband who doesn't do the right thing, or by a child, or if I say, my child says to me, can he be my father? My ego gets hurt. Once my ego gets hurt, I lose who I am. I say, oh, I'm not good enough. The underlying problem is many of us, most of us, do not feel we are good enough. And our support group is here to remind ourselves, you are good enough. Believe in yourself, be you, by being the wheel of strengths. That even if your husband says something negative, or your child says, can the rabbi be my father? 1 second. Ground yourself, 1 second. Don't react in the moment. Count to 10 and think about the wheel of strengths. Think about the wheel of strengths. And go, 1 second. I am compassionate. 1 second. I am a good person. I am kind. I'm giving. 1 second. Let me access it. Let me think about it. Oh yeah, I got it. Got it. I'm sorry, sweetheart. Yeah, he would be a good father to you. It's true. He's a loving rabbi. He's very lovely. If I'm using my compassion and my empathy, I'd say to him, yeah, I understand why you want him to be your rabbi or your father. I get that. He's a very sweet rabbi. Instead of taking it personally, I remind myself how God made me. But when the child says something negative, or my husband says something, or my wife says something, I lose it because my ego is hurt. The wheel of strength goes beyond the ego. Go deeper than the ego. 1 second, hold on. He said something negative. I'm hurt. Therefore, I cannot be compassionate then. Hold on 1 second. Who am I? Count to 10. Who am I? 1 second. Compassionate, giving, creative, consistent, resilient. 1 second. Let me access it. Let me get it. 1 second. I'm getting it. Get in touch with yourself. And then use the skills to overcome the pain of the ego. Go deeper than the hurt. Because that's the real self. That's believing in yourself. The real self is how God made you. The neighbor, the mother-in-law, the person in line in 7 Mile Market is frustrating you, and my ego gets in the way. I'm saying to you, let's go deeper than the ego. Cut through the ego and say, who am I? 1 second, hold it. Access it and use it. Third technique. Third technique is called soul state. Number 3, turn the next page. Soul state. Soul state is go to the beautiful place, the most beautiful place you've been to in your life. Tell me where you are. Close your eyes for a second. Go to the most beautiful place you've ever been to in your life that's most inspiring, relaxing, calming, uplifting place you've ever been to. Tell me where you are. Go there in your mind. Where have you been, which is uplifting, a beautiful vacation spot, a beautiful vista, a beautiful landscape, an inspiring place? Where have you been, which inspires you? Anybody?
For me, any ocean, body of water that's endless, like that I don't see like the other side, just like the waves and the water and the sky.
Infinity, right? A place of infinity, of never-endingness.
Yeah.
Makes you feel what?
Calm, peaceful, and that there's a power greater than me.
Beautiful. Humility. Anybody else? Where else do you go? Other people, where do you go that makes you feel, you've been to in your life, it makes you feel inspired? Ocean, horizon, sky, beautiful place. Anybody else? Anybody go to a mountain? An overview, looking at a mountain and a lake from above. Hawaii, the blue waters of Alaska, glaciers. I go to Engedi, the waterfall of Engedi. Now, there is a correlation between your beautiful place and your best character trait. If you talk about the vision, the beautiful place, the 2 attributes that come to mind, what you're seeing in that place, Devorah, what you're seeing there is vision, creativity, expansiveness, and water, which means giving. Water, the waves flow, they give, they're nurturing. So the 2 attributes that you are calling to mind when you see the ocean and this beautiful vista is vision, creativity, and giving, nurturing. So when you go to that place, what you're doing is you're seeing yourself in that place. Your soul is intuiting its own character in that place. That's why you're inspired by that place. When some people are inspired by a mountain, what they're seeing is power. They're seeing strength, faith. They're seeing strong will. They're strong-willed. When people see a water, or a lake, or a river, or an ocean, or a sea, they're talking about their calmness, their givingness, their empathy, their compassion. That is their attribute. When you see a mountain, strong water, like strong water, waterfall, or Niagara Falls, what you're seeing is, or a strong mountain, what you're seeing in yourself is strong conviction, perseverance, strong will, creativity. So the third technique is called soul state. Go to soul state every day. And I go to soul state when I daven. I go like this. I begin the Shemona Esrei, Hashem Svasai Titach Ufia Gitul Asecha. I go to Ein Gedi. I see the waterfall. And to me, the waterfall is a place of creativity and strength. Strong water, and it's creative. It's got rocks, it's got water, it's got dribbling water, it's got soft water, it's got turning water, cliffs, greenery. It's a creative place. So to me, I am creative. I'm creative with ideas, etc. So what I do is I go to Ein Gedi and I bring it down. I go, Baruch. I bring down creativity. God is the creator, and he breathed into me some creativity. So I bring it down, Baruch. Ata, thank you for giving me my creativity. Hashem, I stand up and I say, please allow me to serve you today with my creativity. So Baruch, I bring it down. I am humble. I bring down creativity from God. Ata, thank you for giving me my creativity. I rise and I say, please Hashem, let me serve you with my creativity today. So there are three methodologies in which we can achieve this inner peace that we've just talked about. And on the last exercise, I want you to write down on the 4th page, I want you to draw a stick figure like this. Draw a stick figure. A head, a body with a heart, arms and legs. A head, a body with a heart, arms and legs. Next to the head, write down wheel of strengths. Next to the heart, write down soul state. Next to the legs, write down circle of control. You have a stick figure, you have a circle, wheel of strengths,